This video is gonna be extremely practical, so if you're worried about music theory, I'll not explain any theory. A few weeks ago, I was put in a situation where I had to play the piano without knowing any of the songs beforehand, and some of the songs were completely new to me. I haven't even heard them before. So I thought to myself, what if I make a tool that will allow me to play in any key in real time and know all the notes and know all the correct chords? Wouldn't that be great? You can screenshot that, or you can download the image from the Google Drive link in the description and print it out on a piece of paper, put it in front of you at all times. Now that is the circle of fifths. I told you I'm not gonna explain any theory. If you'd like to understand it, theoretically, I'll link a video up here. I made a video about it in the past. But in this video, I'm gonna show you how to find all the correct notes that are in a key and all the correct chords that are in a key. This is how to read the circle of fifths. If you're going in the clockwise direction, it's called the sharp direction. And if you're going in the counterclockwise direction, it's called the flat direction. Now, in the sharp direction, each letter is 5 notes apart from the one before it. So if you start at C and count 5 notes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you will end up at G. This is the fifth of C. If you start from G and count 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you will end up at D. So D is the fifth of G. If you count from D, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you will end up at A. So with each letter, you are going up 5 notes. And if you go the opposite way in the flat direction, you are counting fourths. So if you start from C and count 4 notes, 1, 2, 3, 4, you will end up at F. If you start at F and count 4 notes, 1, 2, 3, 4. But why did I go to B flat instead of B? Because a fourth interval is 2.5 steps. If you go to C and count the distance from C to F, it's 1, 2.5. Now, C is the easiest key. It doesn't have any sharps or any flats. But if you start counting the sharp direction, with each letter, you will get one more sharp. If C has 0 sharps and 0 flats, G will have 1 sharp, D will have 2 sharps, A will have 3 sharps, E will have 4 sharps, and so on. If you go in the opposite direction, in the flat direction, F will have 1 flat, B flat will have 2 flats, E flat will have 3 flats, A flat will have 4 flats, and so on. Okay, now, you know each key, how many sharps it has or how many flats it has, but what are these sharps and flats? You see this line right here? This green line that I put for you, this one, you start counting from here. So if I go to the key of E major, how many sharps does it have? 4. So I know that E major has 4 sharps. What are these sharps? You start counting from this line. F sharp, C sharp, G sharp, and D sharp. So if I start from E, then I have F sharp, then I have G sharp, then I have A natural. This is not A sharp nor A flat. Then I have B natural also. Then I have C sharp. Then I have D sharp. Back to E. So these are all the notes of E major. Let's do an example in the flat direction. So let's say we are playing in E flat. How many flats does E flat have? 3 flats. What are these flats? B flat and E flat and A flat. Okay, so let's play it. Start on E flat. The next note is F, because it's natural, it's neither flat nor sharp. The next note is G. It's also a natural note. The next note is A flat. Then we have also B flat. Then the C is natural. And the D is natural. And then back to E flat. So these are the notes of E flat major. But what about minor keys? How do you count those? If you look on the inner circle, all these keys are relative to these keys. So C major and A minor are relative major-minor keys, and that means that they share the exact same notes. So right now I'm playing C major, and now I'm playing A minor. It's the exact same notes, but starting from a different place. Let's say you've never played in A flat major. However, you do know how to play in F minor. Well, guess what? These two share the same exact notes. So if you know how to play in F minor, you also know how to play in A flat major. Now to the chords, which I think is even more important than this. How do you know which chords are in the key? Whatever key you're in, that is the tonic. That's the one chord. And you already know that if you go in this direction, you're counting 5. So this chord is the 5th of C. And if you go in the opposite direction, you're counting 4th. So this chord is the 4th of C. So now you have your 1, your 4, and your 5. That's great to begin with. These are really important chords, the 1 and 4 and 5. And then the next one is the relative key. So I told you that these chords that are on the outside here are relative to these chords that are on the inside. And when you are in a major key, the relative minor, which is this one, is the 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So right now you know your 1 chord, your 4 chord, your 5 chord, and your 6. You still have your 2 and your 3, and this is the 2 chord, and this is the 3 chord. So for major keys, you can think of it that way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And the 7th is a diminished, but the diminished chord is not as essential as these 6 chords. And in a major key, the diminished will always be a half step below the root. So this is the 1 chord. The half step below it will be the diminished. So you can figure it out that way. Regardless if you are in a major key or a minor key, all the important chords are these right here. So starting from the key, 1 step to the sharp direction, 1 step to the flat direction. These are all the chords you need in any key, or at least all the very important chords. For minor keys, it's like the majors, but the opposite. So if we start on A minor, this will be the 4 chord. This will be the 5 chord. What is the next easy chord to figure out? The relative chord, right? Because A minor and C are relative major and minor chords. So for minor keys, the relative major is the 3 chord, the 3rd. Okay, same way that for major keys, the minor is a 6. For minor keys, the relative major is a 3rd. So you already know 1, 3, 4, 5, and then you still have 6 and 7. In minor keys, the 2 is the diminished chord, and it will be 1 step higher than the root. So in major keys, the diminished is a half step below the root. In minor keys, the diminished is 1 step above the root. And again, the diminished chord is not the most important chord to play. I mean, of course, it depends on the song, but if you know at least the essentials, for a major key, it will be 1, 4, 5. Then the next most important will be 2, 3, and 6. And the 7th is kinda important, not really. For minor, it's the 1, 4, 5 also, and the 3, 6, 7. So whatever key you choose, the chords that are 1 letter before it and 1 letter after it, these are all the important chords. So let's try to play in the key of D flat major. This is D flat. How many flats does it have? 5. So it's B flat, E flat, A flat, D flat, and G flat. These are the notes of D flat. What are the chords that are important? D flat, which is the 1 chord. It's the tonic, it's the root. Then you have the one before it. Which one it is? It's G flat. The one after it, in the sharp direction, is the A flat. Okay, so this is the 1, this is the 4, this is the 5. And what are the others? This will be the 2 chord, this will be the 3 chord, and this will be the 6 chord. And now you know all the chords of D flat major. Now let's do a minor key. For example, C sharp minor. How many sharps does C sharp minor have? It has 4 sharps. And you can also think of it as E major because it has all the exact same notes as E major. So if you know how to play in E major, these are the exact same notes, but you start from here. These are the notes of C sharp minor. Okay, what are the chords of C sharp minor? The one before it is the 4, so this is F sharp minor. The one after it is the 5 chord, G sharp minor. And this will be the 6, and this will be the 7, and this will be the 3. Okay, so whatever key you want to play in, first look if it has a counterpart, a relative key that you already know. Then you won't have to do anything. You already know how to play in that key. Or if you don't know it, then you will see how many sharps does it have or how many flats does it have and start counting from that line. If it has 5 sharps, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, these are the sharps. If it has 3 flats, 1, 2, 3, these are the flats. Now you know all the notes in the key. You still have the chords. All the important chords will be one letter before the root and one letter after the root. These are all the important chords you need to know. For major keys, you count on the outer circle for the 1 and 4 and 5. So this is the 1, this will be the 4, this will be the 5. For minor keys, you count on the inner circle for 1 and 4 and 5. If this is your minor key, this is the 1, this will be the 4, this will be the 5. For major keys, the relative key will always be the 6. And for minor keys, the relative key will always be the 3rd. And for the rest of the chords, with major keys, the one before it will be the 2 and the one after it will be the 3. And for minor keys, the one before it will be the 6 and the one after it will be the 7. In major keys, the 7 is always diminished, and in minor keys, the 2 is always diminished. And these are not very important chords if you are just improvising and have to play without practice. If you don't play these chords, it's not the end of the world. But just in case you want to play them, for major keys, the diminished chord is always a half step below the root. For minor keys, the diminished chord is always one step above the root. And that's it.